I'm not sure when it started, but for a long time I felt lost, like I'm not where I want to be. But the greater problem was I didn't know where I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and any time I thought I'd found an answer, I also found doubt. Sure, some of my ventures were merely pit stops to pass the time, but for others, I created reasons why those ventures weren't attainable or realistic, and, to a degree, I was right. The person I was struggled with the mere idea of success. It was something far removed from him, something you'd see on TV. Climbing those heights was a thing reserved for other people, and if he didn't believe he could succeed, then what was the use in having goals? I came to know that I had an interest in psychology, and often challenged the views of others that made little sense to me, whether openly or in my head. This regular questioning led me to challenging ideas I held too, finding that many weren't sufficiently fleshed out for me to carry on holding. Over time, I began to notice that challenging these questions gradually reconstructed the way I viewed the world, and ultimately my idea of a place in it. These paradigm shifts occurred often after bouts of introspection, and especially when confronted with a situation I considered emotionally moving, whether I perceived it as negative or positive. Through all this growth, there was an underlying lack to it all. The question why was always attractive, but never sufficient. There were always more questions than answers, and sometimes I felt joy when observing this idea, but at other times it was overwhelming. I was learning but not applying. I found myself in what I realized to be a trap many, if not all of us, fall into. One where we say, I know, but yet do not use that knowledge to improve ourselves. Is it doubt of what we claim as knowing? What about laziness? Apathy? Or maybe something else? A few days ago, I woke in the middle of the night, immediately deep in thought over what I may speak about in my first video, and why I've started on the topic, then changed my mind over and over, quitting before I really got started. A mix of guilt, disapproval, and anxiety set in as I asked myself the question, why have I still not got this done? These feelings were quickly replaced with excitement as I witnessed a repeating of cycles, a pattern emerging, an answer for my question. I wanted my first step into the world of YouTube to be of a good enough standard for me to release. But of course, I'd never done any of this before. This was new to me, and so, inevitably, what I would release would not be perfect. As if such a thing ever could be. I have no experience in editing, and talking to a crowd? Forget about it. The excuses came. I prefer smaller groups, one-on-one interactions. I watched myself don the label of introvert somewhat proudly, then reprimanded myself for being so narrow-minded. Here's where the answer reared its head. This was exactly what I was intending with this channel anyway. The struggle of change against the odds. The acceptance that big changes often take a while to implement, and that the desire to live a changed life is not sufficient. To really change, I would require a change of perception, digging down into the very problems that hinder me from the progress I wish to see in my life. So why not share this process? Theoretically, you may have a good idea of what's required to get the results. Want to get fitter? Follow a fitness regime. Eat better, more wholesome foods. Drink more water. If trying to lose weight, consume fewer calories. If trying to gain, consume more calories. Want to develop a skill or ace an exam? How about learning how to feel comfortable in talking to people, managing your emotions, or even being a better friend or person? Conventional wisdom would say practice, 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 and you'll see the results. With this in mind, it would appear that knowing what we need to implement to get the job done should be sufficient. But for many, implementation is another beast entirely. It's a challenging environment, and the challenges faced will often lead to failures. Not meeting commitments, not working to deadlines, achieving lower standards or results than expected, or even having lower expectations of the standards possible for you to achieve. These failures can be disheartening enough to stop us from pursuing our original intentions, whatever they may be. But I'd wager that the alternative is even more disheartening. Accepting defeat, not having your own back, minimizing the possibility of a greater experience, and forever being plagued with the question, what if I'd done things differently? So if you're someone that feels like you're going in circles, repeating the same stories but with different faces, going someplace you don't want to be, whether it's work, school, even a party or family event, just to meet the status quo, to meet the arbitrary expectations that others have of you, then this message is for you. And if you've already embarked on your journey, then hear these words just as a reminder of the struggle for change, if nothing else. It's said that if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. And personally, I'd say the risk of existing in an unfulfilled life is much greater than the risk of failing repeatedly towards a goal. One is a guarantee of mediocrity and the illusion of safety, whilst the other is an opportunity for an almost infinite number of possibilities. You may find that it's not so simple as setting a deadline for yourself. You may fail to meet that deadline, but this isn't a competition against anyone but yourself. Chances are you have more time, so you fail to achieve something. Get back to the drawing board, adjust, learn more about yourself, your habits, your rituals, and where you're coming up short. You may fail over and over again, but make each failure a lesson. Failure doesn't always mean death. It doesn't have to mean you give up, become a naysayer yourself, or let other naysayers take you down. If you let them, they may build you up. They are there as tests, reminders, and as an opportunity to learn. Those revered as the greats are not just determined by talent, but how often a person gets up after they've been knocked down, how they handle themselves when faced with adversity, how often they dedicate themselves to the grinding away of weakness and the development of their strength and character. Maybe you don't see yourself as great right now, but you could be. Life will test you, and the lessons it throws at you will repeat until they've been learned. Pay keen attention to how you feel, because in my experience, this is how to intuit whether there is an opportunity for growth. If something is hard, there are lessons there. Listen to the pain. Listen to the struggle. Don't just hide from it. Feel the pain. Feel the struggle. But don't just go through it. Grow through it. We are all highly imprintable beings, and there are a number of social and biological phenomena that influence the way we interpret ourselves, each other, and ultimately the world and beyond. In my future videos, I will explore these phenomena, share tips about what practices have or haven't helped me in my journey of self-development, and delve into other matters of psychology that interest me. Interested in psychology, or simply want to see where this journey goes? Then hit subscribe so we can claim our brains together. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any suggestions on future videos, or even if you just want to say hi. I'll see you in the next one.